of Commerce. There's always something happening at the Morris County Chamber as well as the EDC. So please feel free to connect with us for upcoming networking events, as well as business resources to help your business grow in New Jersey. So with that said, I'll jump right into today's topic, data integrations and lessons learned. As a disclaimer, these are a lot of lessons learned and challenges that I have, we've experienced firsthand throughout my different jobs and things in my career, and this is kind of what some of the takeaways I've found from it. My background is in data and marketing, so this is what I went to school for. I definitely find this stuff very interesting and only want to help you and your business with these implementations. So here we go. All right, so for today's agenda, we're going to be talking about what is data integration. First of all, what does it look like for your business? What can I do with it? We're going to also look at some real world industry examples and how some other industries, large and small, are using data integration. I'm going to talk about the challenges and pitfalls that may arise when trying to implement this solution. And then we're going to talk about best practices and tips so we can avoid all the challenges and pitfalls that come with this. So moving right along. Okay. So just in case anyone is not familiar or you're, thinking, where do I begin? What is data integration even? It doesn't have to be a complicated process. It's really just, in the simplest of terms, it's just taking your data sources from all over the place, right? Maybe you have Excel, maybe you have SurveyMonkey, you have some social media insight or Google Analytics website traffic data, and you want it to be integrated, moving it all together, consolidating all that information into one spot so that at any time, anyone working in your business is able to see that data right away. It's in one platform, one easy to use or easy to see platform in a unified view. So that in its simplest terms is what data integration is. I think at times it can get confusing because there's a million different solutions out there that say, hey, we do data integration. So the point of today is to help walk you through some of those, what to look for when you're doing your research and you're implementing your solution. So this in simplest terms is the process of integrating data. So business benefits we talk about. Anytime you're consolidating information, this seems common sense, but you reduce your time spent. That's the goal. Everyone's time is important. Everyone's efforts are important and in the workday, and you want to make sure that we're not spending so much time duplicating efforts and things like that. This is also meant to minimize your errors. So talking about, and that kind of goes along with the data quality that you have, making sure that all this info, all this great data that you're getting from these different sources is not only clean, but it's accurate. There's little human error, and there's, it minimizes that risk. Improving decision making. I'm always a big believer that, the more knowledge we have and the more information we get, it's just the more helpful to help us make more educated decisions. If we know what's going on and we see patterns and trends and they're readily available to us, we can make better decisions and better business decisions too. Improving team collaboration. It's just that unified view of everything in one spot is going to just help the team to understand, their, not only their role, but other people's roles within the business, and help them understand what everyone does on a day-to-day basis. They can, help out and even contribute and understand how their role can contribute if they know what everyone is doing and looking at. So it just unifies the data and it unifies the team, which is great. Okay. So this is kind of a cool slide. This is my favorite because I always like to apply it to the real world and see what's everyone else doing with this. How are they applying data integration and what are they doing? And something as like a large healthcare industry. Healthcare is very big in New Jersey, and that's a very large industry. but also our retail and our wholesalers and our Main Street businesses, what are they doing for data integration as well? Because that's important too. So just looking up a couple of examples here, in the healthcare industry, what they'll do for data integration is they'll have data from electronic health records, they'll have different medical devices, they're always tracking. You can even track it on your Apple Watch, just what's my heart rate at, how is my health doing. All that information is out there readily available to them. But their data integration systems are taking all that information, putting it into one spot so that the nurses, the doctors can create more of a complete patient view, and they can start to put together more of a personalized care or a custom care for that patient and their needs. I think it's really the supply chain industry or manufacturing industry, data integration, they get a lot of data on inventory, an order, where it's, what stage it's in the process, equipment conditions, right? These are all important things for them to track. So if they can consolidate all that information into one spot, it helps them in their real-time operations to say, hey, I see this problem coming ahead, or I can see this in advance. What can we do, to fix it or to readjust? So that's kind of the how they might use data integration. And then for retail, you probably know, there's so much we can get from customer behavior data. If you see Amazon trying to recommend you different products and, you might like this, different items, that is an example of how they're using all this collected data in one spot to put together tailored, not just products, but predict things you might want to buy or get you to engage on social media and engage with their brand more. So that is an example of how they might use data integration. And anybody have any questions so far? I know Brittany's on. Anybody have any questions so far, or think we're good? Okay. All right, so now we'll look at challenges with implementing your data integration platform, whatever you may choose to use. The most common misconception, I think, with data integration is that it's going to be my solution to everything. If I'm integrating all my data, everything is going to fall into place and all my data will be fixed. This is a huge challenge and misconception that you'll run into sometimes, because my favorite saying, what you get out is what you put in. And so if you already have data systems and data sources that are, have their challenges, they're weaker, they're not clean, something is inaccurate, there's human error. If that data is going into your data integration system, what you get out is not going to be what you thought or what you ideally would like. So it's important to keep your sources strong, keep those updates, and if you're willing and have the availability and the means to upgrade your systems, if that works for you, I would definitely recommend investing in that, just to keep those platforms strong, that data strong and updated. So that's kind of like what we said. If your system becomes less nimble or no longer serves you, definitely it might be beneficial, if you can, to invest in the right technology for you. So it all starts at the beginning. It all starts with that first connection of data that you're putting in. If that makes sense. Okay, so the second challenge is implementation and the complexity. My favorite thing, I've sat through these before too, is maybe you've gone through a demo or a data demo with a vendor, and you see them present it and you're like, wow, this looks amazing, and this looks so easy to implement right off the bat. It's never as easy as you think it is to implement. I think what happens sometimes is we see this from the vendor presentation and we don't always ask the right questions because we don't fully understand our own business needs and business model. So you should know jumping into this before you implement anything that any integration system you have set up is going to come with, complex fields. Am I going to have to create a workflow? Is there data modeling involved? What does my security requirement look like to support this integration system? All of those things play a factor in implementation that a vendor may not be able to show you unless you ask the right questions. So definitely it's not always as easy to implement as it looks. There may be times where some of your original data sources don't integrate nicely with your new system. So that's something you always want to ask the right questions for too, and make sure you have. Not only is it technically can be challenging, but there's also a learning curve for your team as well. So, the learning curve, one person may catch on right away, it may take longer, but that's okay. It's just based on their usage and how they're using the integration platform and all that data. So the learning curve will be there. It might take longer than anticipated. So it's important to always make sure that if you're going to, go ahead and move forward with this data integration solution, that you want to have your employees and your team go through trainings and orientations just to get acquainted with it and get more comfortable. Okay, and finally, I guess the last challenge is if you have ever looked like this woman in this picture, or you've ever made this pose like this woman in this picture, something is wrong. Your data integration platform or system is not working for you. And that's okay. So just because I've got my, various company that's going to integrate all my data for me, they've set me up already, doesn't mean that you're done and that is the end of the road, unfortunately. You always want to make sure that you're checking to see that what you implemented is actually, saving you time, doing what you need it to do, and eliminating these manual processes. So if you continue to see things like, we integrate all of our data, but I still have to copy and paste. I still, my data is not syncing. There's some inaccuracies. I have to and in some cases, you may not even want to manually upload data. Maybe you just want your integration system to be able to see all the data right there. If that's the case and that's still persisting or still happening, there's something wrong with your integration system and it's not the right solution for you. So that can be a challenge as well. The point of avoiding your manual codes and DIY codes, the best example of this is, imagine if you left your job tomorrow, right? And if you left tomorrow, would somebody new stepping in be able to run a report or run a workflow or something that you've set up with code or minimal code? Would they be able to run it without you being there? So what that means is you never want to embed into your integration platform. You don't want to embed codes that rely on an email from an employee email or a specific employee ID. None of that should be in there. You want to try and use code that is universal as possible. Okay, so that is one of our other challenges. So I know we talked a lot about challenges, but now we're going to talk about some happier news and how to avoid that and best practices for implementing our new data integration system, whatever that may be. Like we said, you want to keep your original systems updated, making sure that what you put in is good, is what you'll get out. That's the key. Document all of your system functionalities and needs. So even before maybe you even begin to think about tools and vendors and data platforms that will help you do this, you might want to document and just write out all your business needs, what you want this integration system to look like, and what you want to get out of it. This way you'll have better knowledge about the questions to ask those vendors when going into those meetings. Like we said, research and ask questions. There's a million options out there for tools that will integrate all your data into one spot. Do a little bit of research and homework yourself so you're well educated for those meetings and those pitches from vendors. have the team attend orientations and trainings. Oftentimes, whatever tool you use will have IT support and monthly or weekly training videos that will appear. Have your team go through that, and if check in with them if they have questions as they're using the system for what they need it to do in their job. Definitely bring that up to support or the vendor itself. And then the final best practice is to just monitor your data quality. As we said, make sure that the tool you've used and put into place to combine all this data is actually working. So, you don't want to see any blanks maybe or any null data. In some cases, maybe there's information missing that should have been there or that you had to update that you're not seeing an update for. So just check that everything, the data is clean, it looks nice, it's quality, it's accurate. So that's what I would say for your best practices. And then I think that's it. These are all my references and sources. There's more information on our website for EDC. It's morriscountyedc.org. And if you ever need any additional resources or business growth resources, please visit that website. This is the end of the presentation. I'll open it up to, I guess, any questions. I know we've been receiving some questions, as well as I know we have a few of you joining us. So if there's any questions, now is the time. But I think we're good. All right. Well, I don't hear any questions. So with that being said, thank you very much for today's presentation. This will be made available on our YouTube channel at Morris County EDC. We'll also be emailing this out to all of the attendees today. And if you're watching this now and you'd like to join us, we have an upcoming commercial real estate dinner on September 10th. So please come out and join us for that. And we'd love to see you there. But thank you again, and have a great day.